Hello, welcome to the Pritchard Pub. This evening we got special guest Mark J. Engels, an author. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself, buddy?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Pritchards, for having me on. I am the author of a urban fantasy thriller series called the FOREST EXILES Saga, featuring the modern-day remnant of an ancient clan of WERECATS torn apart as militaries on 3 continents vie to exploit their deadly talents. I grew up a fan of various anime and manga and anthropomorphic works, and later one got into my head that there was a book I wanted to read but couldn't find it, so ended up writing them and editing them and publishing them and marketing them and all of the rigmarole that goes into that. And I've been well pleased that a number of there's a number of people who enjoy those books too. And a number of them are joining us this evening. I saw one chat before we went live. So hello, everybody. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Jody. Hello, Seth. Hello, Brianna. And I can't see the chat at the moment. That's just part of the app. So if I missed anyone, please sound off. I would love to acknowledge you there. So
welcome, everyone. That's awesome. So I don't think we've had a guest that does the. Let me try to not butcher the word because I have a problem with words. Anthropomorphic. Why can't I say that word ever?
Anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic. Why is it so hard to say?
Yes.
So I think you're our first author that does that, which I find fascinating. So I really look forward to our next round because you're in our next round for Iron Age books. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. Would you want us to maybe read a blurb for something, or what do you have in mind for your shills?
Oh, well, I've already hit you all with the tagline. I've got them all right here. And I know that many of the folks on the call in the chat already are, and I believe Sammy was joining us from the UK. I know it's getting late there, pal, but thanks for hanging with us.
Heck yeah.
I know that when we mention anthropomorphics, you can think of funny animals. You can think of Looney Tunes. You can think of Mickey Mouse. In my case, yes. Well, Brianna, one of my super fans, is joining us. A couple of my super fans are joining us, and I'm so glad to have them and her and Seth both. Growing up, I'm of an age where I had opportunity to see Disney's Robin Hood in theaters for its first run. So yes, I'm that old. And Maid Marian was my first boyhood crush.
Are we talking about the Fox, version with the Fox? Yes, that's the only one.
There is only one. There is only one Marian, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. And then growing up, several years went by, and Kimba the White Lion was one of my favorites. Not even knowing what anime was at the time until I watched Battle of the Planets and then Voltron and of course both the lions and the vehicles.
Did you ever watch the anthropomorphized Transformers?
The only anthropomorphs that I remember being on Transformers were the Dinobots.
That's what I'm thinking of. Like, yeah, like Optimus was like a gorilla. You know what I'm saying?
I don't remember that. I just remember Grimlock was about as dumb as a post. If Sammy's joining us, I'm sure he probably just hit the floor laughing because I know he goes back with Transformers in the fandom even farther than I do.
Beast Wars, that's what it was.
Oh,
Beast Wars.
So
I remember I loved the Velociraptor, but anyway, continue.
Yes, I really set the hook for me when I started watching Robotech as a teenager, but right about that time, their Thundercats first run was there, and did I have it bad for Chitara for sure. So as time went on, yes, my pal Rachel's a big dino fan.
You love the dinos.
She loves Scalies, so features several in her own books, in fact. So I continued to be a fan of anime and manga on and off throughout college and throughout adulthood. And in fact, my first writing forays were in anime fan fiction for manga. I enjoyed watching various anime, reading various manga, and there were a number of occasions where I thought, well, they ended the story, but what happened to these characters, or how did that situation get resolved? And not knowing what those outcomes were, I took it upon myself to write them. And I managed to, this was during the early ages of the internet, and post this on various chat rooms and news groups for people who remember those. I managed to cultivate several friends. I was living in the Twin Cities at the time, not far from where you are.
No way. Heck
and
yeah.
Yes, I lived in the Twin Cities for a number of years, and I had opportunity to meet people from all over the country, all over the world, who were also not only interested in these various anime and manga franchises, but were also writing fan fiction. So that's really where I got the idea to write in the first place in these various speculative fiction genres. Some of them, some of my friends joining us will know that I was very interested in Battle Angel Alita when the manga first came out. I was very interested.
Alita?
Yes. It would.
We could talk.
Well, the movie came out like almost 20 years after I first started reading the manga, and my first forays into fan fiction were actually in the interstices, in the skips in the storyline that you might have read about. Unless you've read the manga yourself, you might not be familiar with them. Someone who's just seen the movie from several years ago.
I only know about Alita because of the movie, and it's super based.
Right, and that's actually 9 manga volumes, and I have each one, and so Cameron did, I guess, his level best to try to put together something from them, but I'm also was very keen on Yukito Koshiro. He had included several lyrics in his manga panels from various Queensryche songs, and me and my pals were Rikers at one time, and so to see a manga artist quoting from songs that we already dug was quite an experience. So me and my friends, we really enjoyed that. I continued to write in manga fan fiction for several years after that. I didn't write for quite some while until after I had seen Gurren Lagann several years later. And anyone who's seen Gurren Lagann, it's an emotional experience at the end. I won't give away more than that.
Yeah.
Suffice to say, there's got to be more than that. There's got to be something left for these characters there. And part of becoming part of that community and sharing those stories. This was all before really social media had taken off, although we had email lists and news groups and ERC chats and other places where we could meet. Many of the fine folks that are joining us tonight, like my pal Seth, so glad to have you, and thank you for all your support, are people that I met through the various social medias, Twitter, primarily, not unlike, I'm sorry, X, whatever.
Yeah. Twix.
Always going to be the Bird app for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, the Bird app.
In fact, that's how I came to meet you all. So I'm grateful for that. Social media certainly has many disadvantages, but I am grateful for the advantages it did afford me to meet a lot of people that I might not have otherwise had the opportunity to meet. When I first came up with the idea for these books, in fact, I was talking with some people that I had met online who were fans of one particular, I'm going to use that word again, Catherine, anthropomorphic artist. And so the artist had put together some fantastic pieces that would look like they could be a comic book cover, and featuring feline special agents. And I thought, that's like the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I had opportunity to get to know that artist a little bit better, and the fan, my fellow fans, a little bit better. And I kept, me and others were asking, well, when's the comic book coming out? When's the graphic novel coming out? There's got to be more than this. And he kept telling me that, well, I'm not quite sure how the story's going to go or really what I'm going to do with it. So I had put together a script for him, an outline, and said, well, here's a story. This is how it could go with these characters. And I met with him. I sat down with him and we walked through it together. And when I got done, he said, well, this is a good story, but it's not my story. Thank you, but no, thank you. So,
right.
And I was a little crestfallen from that, but then I took the story home and I figured, well, that's the end of it. No, it wasn't. Because my muse, who bore a striking resemblance to the protagonist of my series, Ollie, showed up in my subconscious one night and just started shredding away inside my head, saying, I have a story and my family has a story and you're going to write it. And she would not take no for an answer. and with
I feel the
claws.
same about I feel the same about my protagonists, but please
Where
continue.
Oh, sure. My protagonist had claws and fangs and would not be denied.
Yeah, you can't
So-
disagree with that.
No,
That's
no.
vicious.
Yeah. She made it very clear that I wasn't going to wiggle my way
Well, what happened?
out of that one. So I sat down to write and came up with a big outline for an entire series and sent it around to a handful of my friends from the anime and manga fan fiction writing community. And I asked them, "Do you think this has legs?" And they said, "Oh yes, of course. This will work well. We would enjoy this, and we think there'd be others who would enjoy reading this too. But for all the love, do not try to put all of this in one book, or it's going to be the size of War and Peace."
Yeah.
So split it up. And that's why my one big outline turned into 3 books. And there's some of the story that has not yet been told because there's a time skip in between book 1 and book 2. Will I write that? I don't know. I got done with the 3 books and publishing them, and I asked my muse, "We good?" And she says, "I'll get back to you."
Yeah.
So she hasn't harangued me since, but I will she? I guess we'll see, because
Yeah.
I can tell you, and I was just sharing this with Rachel RA the other day, that if I had known coming into this just what it would be to write and edit and publish and market, I might have not done it at all. Because,
Yeah.
in my day job, I'm an electrical engineer that specializes in the design and testing and commissioning and maintenance of railroad and rail transit signal and train control systems. And even going to college, even having started in the trades, even having progressed through the thank you, B. Even having progressed through the engineering ranks, that was not as difficult and fraught with peril as writing and publishing, or writing and editing and publishing and marketing. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. I'm glad on the back end to say that I did it, because you being author yourself, I know a number of my friends joining us tonight are authors too. If we had a nickel for every time someone told us, "Oh, I could write a book," ... and there's a lot of people who say they will. There's a lot of people who say they want to, and there's some who just do it. And I'm glad to have done that. My friends here who've read the entire series know that it leaves open the possibility for more stories. Will I write those? I don't know. I might take a page out of my friend Stephen Coughlin's playbook here, where he came up with a series called Remnants, where he wrote stories about a post-apocalyptic type story, and he invited others to write stories in that setting, also a shared universe. And I know
That's kind of that's kind of my plan for my sci-fi. I'm currently collaborating with the Ultimate Kahuna and Bat Sauce. You saw Bat Sauce in the chat.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, I've seen I saw them chats before. Yeah, there's Bat right there. Hello.
Yep.
And is Kahuna here tonight? I know he was here when Elliot was here.
Kahuna's also, he's a busy man, so he's also a mod. He's one of my co-hosts.
Okay.
My other show.
Okay.
But I'm collaborating with them, but the plan is to just kind of set something up for everybody to write in, basically. And I mean, yeah, that'll be fun. But yeah.
And speaking of Elliot Rodriguez, he is a artist in Peru. And another one, and he was one of your guests a couple weeks ago when I was in the chat there. Look what I got in the mail today.
Oh, an Elliot piece?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Here, let me full screen that.
This is the original artwork for a piece that he did that I put up on my website, and I can bring that up and show that to you all in a moment. That's the original piece right there, and then he colored it later. So
yeah, so he's one of your artists.
Yes, a number of the pieces. He's got one piece on my website now, and I had hoped to commission him before he got balled up with his new comic Ominous, which he sent several more pieces of that artwork with that, which was fantastic. But I was just trolling around one day within Twitter and came across these artwork pieces featuring Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and and he really captured what I thought was a great vibe that he really channeled the Eastman and Laird aesthetic. And I'm like, oh wow, this is another one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And so got talking with Elliot, and then that piece came to fruition. So I did what I did because growing up, I had read all that anime and manga. I had read, people of my vintage may remember the Weekly Readers Book Club. I always look forward to getting my new installment from the Weekly Readers Book Club. And I vividly remember still reading Dear Mr. Henshaw by Beverly Cleary, which came from that. And there was a number of other books that I remember reading and enjoying. But the one that really struck me the most was The Adventures of a 2-Minute Werewolf by Jean DeWeese. And this was in the years even before the Teen Wolf movie, the original Teen Wolf movie came out. And I don't know if that book really inspired that movie or not, because there's some similarities, but not as many as I would have thought there would have been. And so it was years later that I had all of that inspiration to draw from when I put my books together. And other things that people who know me will appreciate in my books. Ice hockey is prominently featured.
Oh, you got to get the hockey in there.
Yes. And in fact, Paulie and her twin brother, the two co-protagonists, Paulie and Tommy, they are both high school hockey, ice hockey phenoms. And when they're not, growing fur and claws, that is. So that certainly diverges wildly from say Teen Wolf, because they go out of their way to not be seen in their werecat forms, although there is that unfortunate LARPing incident, but it just so happened that it was a Skyrim LARP that they were at.
Yeah.
So they were mistaken for Kaji.
There you go.
So speaking of hockey,
it worked out okay for them, but then Tommy grabs Polly by the tuft of her ear and says, that could have been bad. Don't do that again. That could have really gone bad. So
speaking of hockey, though, I noticed someone else liked something you said about streaming, and because I go and I try to follow new people just based on mutuals like that.
Yeah.
And I found someone who her page says Minnesota, and so it's really cool that you lived here for so long, and I love finding people from Minnesota on there, but we're like the hockey masters over here.
It's funny.
Well, and then but don't tell the Bison or don't tell North Dakota State or UND that.
Right.
They will seriously take exception to that and come to the Mariucci Arena and just lay waste to the Gophers. So I also in my books I used to be a practitioner of traditional Korean martial arts.
Awesome.
So that's the style of martial arts that the werecat family actually learns to allow themselves. Yes, and Jody lives in the Twin Cities, not far from where I live. So
we're all in the same. We're all in the same neighborhood. This is awesome.
Sure, you betcha. Hey,
yeah.
You can't say put on your chook and go shopco now, because there's a lot more of them than there ever used to be out here.
Oh,
don't you know?
For heaven's sake!
So I also am a lifelong boat nerd, particularly Great Lakes shipping vessels. And when I was in college, I went to college at Lake Superior State University in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, which, yes, you can imagine back in the day when I graduated and you filled out paper applications, that was very difficult to squeeze into those little tiny boxes. I can tell you for a fact. It's home of the Soo Locks, where the lake boats transition the different lake levels between Lake Superior and Lake Huron. So the boats from all over the lake boats and saltwater vessels from all over the world transit the locks for about 9 months out of the year. It's shut down for 3 or 4 months in the winter for maintenance. And I got a chance to see that up close and personal, because when I was in college, I became an intern at the Army Corps of Engineers at the Soo Locks, and I worked there for summers and school breaks during the year for the last 2 years I was in college, and it was probably the best job I'll ever have in my entire life.
So you're a veteran.
That's so cool.
No, I'm not actually. I was a civilian employee of the Army Corps of Engineers. I have not, but it was
associate.
I was adjacent, I suppose you could say. There was one uniformed officer at our facility who, but that was the only uniformed service member working at the facility. But that inspired me a lot, because I worked aboard a number of the pieces of their floating plant. Tugboats, barges, dredges, survey vessels, things like that. And so I got a chance to actually be out on the lake, be out on the St. Mary's River with all of these great big boats going about their business all around me. And that left a very strong impact on me. And I have mentioned this on my social medias before, that my books are informed by the life I've lived and by the life that I wish I had. And I'll leave it to my readers to discern one from the other. But having enjoyed ice hockey, having enjoyed Korean martial arts, having enjoyed lake boats, that's why all of those things make their way into my books. In fact, the WERECAT family's uncle owns a tugboat that pulls barges across the Great Lakes, and there's some harrowing scenes in the books taking place aboard one of those tugboats, and other maritime ships also, several transiting the rest of the world, which, well, I haven't been there then. I haven't been there yet, but we'll see. Booking as a passenger on a merchant vessel is actually a thing. It might be something that I will. Oh, hey there, my pal Sarah is here with us. I was just talking about Lake Superior State University in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and that's where Sarah and I first met.
Awesome.
A long time ago. Now,
speaking of, yeah.
And now she's even closer to the lake than I am. It's just that she's closer to Lake Ontario than I am to, or I'm sorry, you're close to Lake Erie than I am to Lake Michigan.
We've got all the cool Midwest people here and Northerners.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Yeah, this is pretty.
Yeah,
sweet.
sure, you betcha. Hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, for writing, since you don't write, your typical humans, like a lot of people we've talked to, do you find yourself just how do I put this? Like, have you done research on animals to kind of like blend the human and animals in a way, or do you just, since it's fantasy, you just kind of
they're just people,
do what you do?
Right.
Well, I had contemplated. I ran afoul of some certain realities, and that is, werecats are a biological impossibility. And so maybe consulting that molecular biologist friend of mine that I knew from the anime fan fiction writing community to read my manuscript and give me his opinion on it. Maybe that wasn't such a good idea. He had the experience with me that I have a lot with people when they say, "Oh, hey, I wrote a train story. Would you read my train story for me?" I've gotten out of the habit of doing that because having made my living as a railroader for well over 20 years now, and having been a train buff for since boyhood before that.
So what do you think of those German rail guns?
They're big and they're powerful, and they don't have high mobility. They were never meant for that, and they served a tactical purpose at one time. Yeah. Today, their tactical usefulness has long its course.
Okay, but I want to know where he was going with that. Yeah. So are you saying?
So what I was going with that is that it's writing shifters is going to be something that's difficult to get right because there's really no particular definition of what right is. Yes, we have lots of lore with werewolves going back a few hundred years. Now, yes, we have my friend Seth here will appreciate. Yes, we can look at Bastet from
mythology,
Egyptian times.
Yep, I was going to say mythology.
We have a lot of sources that we can draw from, but I didn't want one that was a carbon copy of any one of them. So I used some of this, I used some of that, and I wrote all this into my outline so that I could remember myself what those decisions were, and I could remain consistent throughout the drafting and editing of the books, and I ended up drawing some inspiration from this artist that I mentioned to you, who I had first prepared the outline for, and liked some of the characteristics of his anthropomorphic felines. Seth and I are longtime fans of Stephen Gallacci's Irma Filna EDF, which first appeared in a comic book that he had self-published in the mid '80s called Albedo Anthropomorphics. There's that word again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of its more famous alumni is Albedo Anthropomorphics was the first place where Usagi Yojimbo made his appearance. So
Yojimbo, that sounds familiar, but I don't think I've dove into that.
He's a rabbit Ronin. He's a rabbit samurai. He ties his ears up into a top knot on
cool.
on top
That's a
of his
huge
head.
mosquito.
And he and Steven Sakai, his creator, won Eisner Awards, several Eisner Awards.
Well, it's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone hears a pop, we have this amazing tennis racket bug zapper. If you don't have one, get one. It's so satisfying to pop.
You can just go into hunting mode and just not even feel bad about it.
So I a lot of it I just there was a lot of rule of cool involved in the creation of my WERECATS. I thought, what would I like for them to do? How would I like for them to do it? And I just tried to remain consistent throughout putting those together. I did read a book by a fellow named Stephen Harper called Writing a Paranormal Novel. And he's another Michigander, by the way. And he had a lot of very good ideas in there about how to do the research, how to maintain consistency, how to make your amazing world believable and accessible to people who you would want to immerse themselves in it. So that's how I did what I did. My WERECATS, for example, when the fur erupts from their skin, it doesn't retreat back into the skin when they change back into human form. It sheds.
Right.
A lot.
That's interesting. Yeah. And we've seen that before, right? In the past, with the werewolves, like where they kind of, it's always skin ripping and like metamorphosis each time, right? Almost like a cocoon. I've seen that in the past, right? Yeah,
yes. And in my case, the fur sloughs off of the WERECATS, and they have to go into the shower, and there's several times where they're gathering up they're gathering up, scooping the wet fur up out of the drain and tossing it into a colander in the shower. And yes, all of my friends with cats just say, ew.
Yeah.
You can relate to that.
Well, one of the rules of this is interesting because I can tell you've given it some thought. You've gone out of your way to do the proper writing research, and even at that, you have the life experience on top of it. So, like, one of the rules of like magic systems is, and even like just characters in general, heroes. It seems to be like you don't want to just like give them everything, if that makes sense, right? That's where the term Mary Sue comes from. So having
Gary Sue, if you're writing about a man.
Yes. So that said, having something like it's not just a clean transformation and then willy-nilly it's done. To have something like skin or even just fur sloughing off, like you said, and leaving a trail behind, like that's one thing they touch in with like Spider-Man, for example, right? His webs stay behind, and he had to design them to deteriorate quickly. For example. So I mean, it doesn't seem like that much of a weakness, but think about it. If you got a showdown between two characters, and like I'll just say a werewolf hunter, like a badass werewolf hunter, like on the level of Logan, he can sniff him out. that trail of fur is going to be relevant. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So just saying,
Yes.
it is a weakness in some cases. So like having those things. Have you heard of the win-loss ratio?
Guys,
What?
I was just looking at our Iron Age books today, and I still have it written down on there. I'm totally spaced. We have the books.
Do we? We do have
Let
these.
me go get them.
Yeah, go get them. We can read
This is how crazy our life has been.
Yeah, we have your books.
1 second.
Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, there's also something called the win-loss ratio. I don't think that's the right term, but it basically is like a win-loss ratio. I like to use like the rule of thirds. You can go lose, lose, win, right? Or you can ask yourself, do they get past this obstacle? And you can use the yes, but, no, and method, which like, yes, they get past it, but this happens.
Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Those right there.
He's right here.
We should, and we have blurbs on the back. We can read these blurbs.
That's what I was talking about. So I was thinking like we got to look up the blurbs and read them, and then.
So anyway, just keeping in mind drawbacks, like you did with the fur. That's a good idea. And it immerses people, like you were saying.
And also ours are signed, so just saying, everyone.
Yeah.
But our memory, well, I shouldn't say our memory. My memory has been terrible.
Yeah.
With our move and stuff, but
we got the whole thing.
Gonna get easier.
My website is, you've put a link in your video description, so thank you. There's a link there that will take you to my website, and at my website, any and all can sign up for my mailing list. My social medias are all on there too, and you can subscribe to my mailing list or follow me on social media, and I will post where I am going to be at various places around the country where I'll be there selling these books, and I will be glad to, hi Kuna, I will be very glad to geek out with you about these books wherever that is. I know Rachel, bless her heart, has made it her mission to help me get to a cool one out her way in California somewhere, sometime. I am certainly looking forward to that. I won't be in Ottawa, but my books will be at the Ottawa Comic-Con in September. My friend, I mentioned Stephen Coughlin a few minutes ago. He's going to be having my books at his table, where he's going, because he lives in the area, so he's going to be hauling his books over there and showcasing them. And I know my pal Francis is going to be here now for some time in February. I should be at RadCon in Pasco, Washington, sitting together with her team.
Where is Rachel from in California?
She is in the Los Angeles area, and I'm sorry, love, you told me where before, and I don't remember right off the top of my head, but I know it's East Metro.
I lived in Vista, so northern San Diego County for a couple years on and off. So love that area, actually. Yeah, LA is close enough. It's
in Southern Cal. Yes.
Yeah, we spent time in Big Bear together too on our like honeymoon trip and things like that. So if you get down there, Mark, you have to go see Big Bear. It's beautiful. They get a winter and everything because they're in the mountains. So you wouldn't think California, would get snow like that. I mean, maybe you would if you're smarter than
you heard of Donner Pass?
I've heard of what?
Have you heard of Donner Pass?
I've heard of Donner Pass.
Actually,
they know something about snow in Donner Pass. It's taller than the trains.
Okay, so that just reminded me of the Donner Party. I might have
That's why it's called the Donner Pass, is because that's the pass that the Donner Party died trying to navigate.
Right, and I might have actually talked about this already on our show, but my cousins, so my mom's sister married a Donner.
Yeah.
And he's actually like a descendant of that party. So my cousins are descendants of cannibals.
I think we all are, to be fair, though.
Well, their last name is still Donner.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
crazy
you don't think it's
town.
snow in California, but they've got plenty of it up in Donner Pass. In fact, one of the big jobs I'm actually working on right now is in the Bay Area. I'm part of a BART train control upgrade implementation on the rapid transit in and around Oakland. So I've been there a number of times already, and will probably be back. The Napa Valley Wine Train was one of my past clients. That was always fun. You know, everyone else is riding the wine train, and I'm walking alongside the tracks beside it with a vest and hard hat on. So no, none for me, thanks. I'm on duty.
So we now live in Watertown, Minnesota, and this weekend is the town celebration coming up. Starting tomorrow, and it's called the Rails to Trails Festival. And they have like the loose line here and stuff like that. So we're planning on kind of like exploring everything, because even though my mom lives here, I haven't really done that or spent much time out here. So I'm sure we're going to see some cool train related stuff. So I'm definitely going to take photos for you, because I'm sure you'll be able to tell me what every, like, oh, that train car is a 1927, whatever, you know.
I'll be glad to do that for you, and take yourselves up to Duluth to the Lake Superior Railroad Museum, the North Shore Scenic Train. There, they have a lot of fantastic exhibits up there, and several different trains that people can ride either for a 90-minute ride or for a dinner train or for an all-day ride up to 2 harbors and back.
Oh, awesome.
At a leisurely pace.
The marathon route.
They go right past the grandma's marathon route. They go right past it. I used to volunteer with that organization on their operating crew, and I actually helped crew the marathon trains.
Amazing. We used to steal the mile markers.
Yes.
Every year we'd steal one. But don't touch that, Bobby. So it's so funny that I brought up the Zephyr, and you're like, oh, that's not in commission anymore. I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
Well, like, have you heard of this? You're like, I know all about that.
Yes. The Minnesota Zephyr that once operated out of Stillwater, but it ran a 3-hour dinner train about 5 miles of track out and back, and didn't even get to 10 miles an hour during its operation. Those of us in the industry refer to it as the Stillwater snail.
Matamidi, right?
It goes to Matamidi.
Or it did. Come here, buddy.
Does it go to Matamidi?
Move, buddy.
And that was on a segment that route became another Rails to Trails. There's a lot of trails where the rails were in places like Minnesota, because when the rails were first laid, that was the only means of transportation into all of these communities. And with the implementation of modern roads and the interstates and air travel, there are more ways than one to get to a lot of these places, and so traffic began to decline, and that led to mergers. And when you have these mergers of one railroad or another, they've now got 3 different lines between the same 2 cities. They don't need those anymore, so they can keep one and sell off the others to a short line, or allow them to go into a trust where they're made into a trail, at least temporarily. The railroad always has the opportunity to evict the trail and put tracks back down if there's a business reason to go to that location in the future. That doesn't happen often, but it does happen occasionally. Or in some cases, the railroads, as a token of goodwill, say, well, we're going to put our tracks down, but we're going to leave the trail intact, because the right of way happens to be wide enough to where they can do that. So they can have the best of the best of both worlds, especially for someone like me who would be glad to be out on my walk and watch trains go by.
Right.
That's awesome.
I was gonna say, was
Buddy.
it Korean martial arts?
Yes.
That is a good pair with characters with claws. Just saying. So knowing a little bit about that goes a long way.
Can I get that
with the
flag?
Yes.
combo.
So when you read the books, I make reference to various types of Korean weapons versus various types of Korean Korean martial arts techniques. Polly doing her kicho kicks, doing her hyung, practicing her forms. No, they're not kata, they're hyung. And no, it's not a bong that Hannah carries. It's a bow. No, it's not a bow. It's a bong. That's the she has a pair of fighting sticks. No, they're those are tangbong. That's what those are. They're
yes.
So and that was one of the things when I was training that I thought was really cool. And so, well, what do I? How can I incorporate that in here? Oh, well, those North Koreans, they might be really interested in soldiers that have claws and fangs. So what if a defector from the country had married into the clan at one point, and what if they tried to reel her back in? What would that happen?
Right.
The Korean expatriate is the one that actually teaches the techniques to the rest of the family that they then use to make their techniques all that much more effective. Oh, hey, Elliot is here. Hello. Hey, look what I was showing off earlier.
Yeah, we were letting everybody see that beautiful art of yours, buddy.
Yes, that just came today, in fact. So thank you, Elliot. That's fantastic. So
Good.
I can speaking of art, I can pull up and show some of that on the screen here. I think I can do that. Let me click away.
I believe you click present.
My website.
I believe you click present. You can also toss it in the private chat and I can share it, or I can click on it and pull it up on my end, whatever you want to do. If you present your screen and present the window with it, you can have control over it and like show whatever you want there.
Okay, so let me try to do that.
But yeah, I brought up while you're doing that, I'll just continue here. Bringing up the martial arts, combining it with claws, it's a very good deadly combo, and like other things too, like teeth, a tail, right? A tail, wings. There's things like that actually horns with kung fu. Can you imagine Goatman, right? So my whole point here, I actually have an anthropomorphized character in my character bank, which is up here for now. But essentially, it came out of a D&D character. He doesn't have a name yet. He doesn't have a name yet.
Yes.
But he's a tabaxi from D&D, so I believe that is a cat person. If I'm
That's right. My pal David is here, and he invited me to play in the D&D group that he plays in, and we started a Dungeons of Drakkenheim campaign several months ago now, and we're really enjoying that, getting together just about every Tuesday night to do that. And when they sat down and we're going through the races, and they were talking about all the different, and I go back with D&D all the way back to the Red Book. So so it's been a long time for me. And when he was mentioning all the races, I said, "What's that one you said? Rabbit people, Herringon."
Oh, yeah. Herringon, yeah.
So, I got to do this. I got to do this. And my female rogue is a Herringon character.
Yeah. What did you think?
I'm really enjoying that.
Oh, we could go all in, because like I may not be like an anthro author, right? But I
Not yet, anyway.
well, right, because I do want to write like all ages stuff, and like anthro lends itself to that. You know what I mean? But I am like an animal author. Like you saw my dog running around here. We got another dog. Like we're very much animal people over here. So I do have like my spirit animals story, which is, you know, human and animal bonding. Imagine like a more realistic Pokemon, if that makes sense. But like,
well,
you
this
know,
is my website. You should be able to see it. You see the
yes,
slash marks
yes,
at
I
the
do.
top? Okay. So this is not the link that's in the video description, but if you click the link that says website for me, it will take you to here, and it's just my name, mark-engels.com.
Yeah.
And much of what I've talked about this evening is captured here. And if you want to read me talking more about myself and my books, there's some other places where you can do that down here. And in fact, Rachel, thank you very much. This is her work, who put that together for me. Mary Christopherson was going to be joining us tonight, and Danielle Gauthier, who I thought was going to join us. They might be here. I can't see the chat window, so I'm not sure if
not. If
but
not, there's
friends,
always
I get a little help from my friends, and several of them here were helpful for putting this site together. And my friend David was very helpful for that. But these are the covers of the 3 books that we were talking about, and there's blurbs for each one of them here. This is what it says on the back cover, and there's the buy links there. So paperback or ebook, or please leave a review. There's a special bonus here for WERECATS Emergent, because another author had invited me to conduct an interview with Pauly, and featured her in his Protagonist Speaks series. So
heck yeah.
So when you get down here, this is where the artwork begins. So this is not Eliot's piece, but there's several of them here featuring characters and scenes from the books. That's who showed up in my head and started slashing away. So
go back to that.
I got it.
I'm gonna full screen it. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah. And then that dynamic jump, the action pose. I like that.
Yes. And I've credited all the artists here. If you, they're all who I've had several artists that I've commissioned, and they've all done fine work for me. And this is where you can.
So I do see the Thundercats, but a little bit more cat in this one here. But yeah. Like I could see a little bit of Thundercat in some of these.
Yes.
What you're talking about. Yeah.
So.
And man, we could talk about so many things. So real quick, the character. I'll let you finish your thing here, and then we'll get.
You can talk while I'll just let these scroll through. I just wanted to give the folks at home a chance to see these various things, and they can go to my website and enjoy them as long as they like. This is the piece that Eliot actually finished. This is that you saw the line art that he had done for me, and then later he colored it. And this is this you those of you who had joined Eliot's stream, this should come as no surprise to see how fantastic this turned out. Still one of my favorite pieces. And yes, this is Pauly is the gal, the Lynx the Lycian character on the left. Her nemesis is a woman named Hannah. She's a Tigran pictured on the right, and that's not a bow in her hands. That's a bong.
Heck yeah.
Hannah is a North Korean special forces operator. And in fact, Hannah is not her real name. It just happens to be close to the Korean term hana, which means
Is it
one,
Hana? Like
one,
Hana?
or one, or the first.
Oh, okay.
So hana dul set net dasit yasit, right? So hana is one in Korean. So I'll just let this play. There's a handful more here. So you were saying, you can talk while the rest of these scroll past.
Yeah. So this Tabaxi character, this cat person, just for, to distance it from D&D as much as possible. That's kind of where I developed the idea. But you'd be amazed in games like that what kind of unique characters can come out when you power game a little bit. So that's where this character came out for me. What I do is I like to multi-class and customize as much as possible, and even look at some of the items. And I'm willing to sacrifice some of like my late game power level in the name of like a good idea. You know what I mean? So that said, this Tabaxi character was like more classes than one probably wants to multi-class in, right? Because like it's like jack of all trades, master of none. You have like a level 20 barbarian, and he'll take down like everybody. Definitely gonna take down the multi-class person. You know what I mean? Within reason. I digress. But essentially what I did is I layered these different classes with the goal in mind to make a character that can run as fast as possible. And what that ended up coming out as is I needed to be a Tabaxi because cat people are cat people, and they can run fast naturally, and they have like the reflexes. But then I comboed that with like a monk and some other things, and essentially what I got was like a Tabaxi that could run like almost 200 feet in like 6 seconds. You know what I mean?
It's a cheetah, right? Of course.
Yeah. And I would probably model him after a cheetah. You know what I mean? And he was, one of his primary classes was monk, because monks run faster than everybody else. Because think of like Jackie Chan and stuff, like kung fu. And the claws added extra damage to the monk stuff. So like it was all kind of like lining up together, and all I was doing was trying to make a cool idea, if that makes sense. But now, as you can see, like I still have like the idea clear in my head. So this character will probably get made in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, their superpower is just like the reflexes of a cat, or like, and that translates to like running, being much faster. I'm not thinking like the Flash. You know what I mean? It would be reasonable still.
But Chitara ran really fast.
Right. And
notice here, this is pretty typical for the werecats. Their claws extend and retract, but Paulie is just an example here where they have them on their hands and on their feet, which people who would attack them would have done well to remember. They find out the hard way, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. And the thing I was going to get to before with like the world building stuff, the power system, and like how anthro is kind of like explained a lot of times. It seems to come down to like three things, right? It's either this is just how the world is, don't think about it, or it's there's enough human DNA in there for them to look like this, right? And these are literally this is how I would explain it in my world, right? This is just how the world is, don't think about it, or there's so much human DNA in there that they look like that, or magic, right?
And these are werecats, so they only look like that part of the time.
So kind of like a little bit more on the magic side, right? When you think about werewolves and stuff. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's interesting to think of like these things, these reasons, you know what I mean, and like build it adds like the fur sloughing off, like you said, that's just one tiny detail, but like being forced to think about how all these things work really just adds a level of immersion that goes along.
And that fellow Stephen Harper I told you about, writing the paranormal novel, he strongly advocated for things like that. And any author hearing the sound of my voice now, this piece didn't come up before, but I'm glad it did now, because
action shot.
And so there's and that particular werecat is about 9 feet tall and about 6 feet wide at the shoulders. He's a big boy.
Heck yeah.
So-
he's your muscle. Everybody needs a tank, right? So
yes, and he didn't start that way. And if you want to find out how he came to that place in life, you'll have to read the books. So
right.
But
So
what I was
yeah.
saying is that they've got these capabilities. They have to blend in. I thought, well, I live in the United States, and my family is from my ancestors hail from Germany, and I'm really interested in Japanese anime and manga. But everybody includes Germans in their books. Everybody includes Japanese in their book. What can I do different? Well, actually, my surname might be German, but most of my family is ethnically Polish. And having lived in having grown up in Michigan, well, you bet your sweet dupa I'm Polish. So I thought, how can I bring in that angle? How can I bring in the Korean angle? Because that's different. It's not. It allows me to explore parts of culture that I wasn't familiar with, and I knew a little bit about, enough to be interested in, but I went and dug it off. And Harper, where I was getting at is that Harper mentions that there is so much that you will have to do to write your books. The reader doesn't need to know all that stuff, but you do, because you need it, dear author, to make sure you're consistent throughout your books. Make sure that this stuff all fits together, because if it's not, the readers are going to tell, and they're not going to like you for it. So there's a lot of stuff you're going to learn that is going to inform your work, even if it never technically ends up on the page. And I picture Rachel and Jody and David and Stephen and all my other author friends are here nodding their and Brianna and all nodding their heads going, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And I know you would too, Andy. So.
Yes, yeah. And shout outs here to Sifu, laying it out. This is kind of where my mind was at when I made the Tabaxi. I think there was some rogue in there too. A little bit of fighter.
Down below here, anyone wants to send me a message and talk more with me about books or my inspirations or my influences, whatever. My social medias are here and here. You can see where I'm at if you want to come look me up there. Subscribe to my list, and you'll get notified of. I participate in a number of group promotions. So I'm always glad to send details about the group promotions out to my mailing list. And when I do a live event, like I pitched this particular event to my mailing list several times before we got together. So I'm been certainly when Rachel and I figure out what con where, and I get to there, or as I'm preparing to go to RedCon with Francis in February, or I'll make sure to notify my mailing list, and you'll probably see that easier than you will catching it on social media, because anyone who's been on social media at all lately knows that, well, those algorithms, and there's a better than average chance that anything you post, but people who you want to see it might never see it, which is unfortunate. So mailing list helps make sure that if you want to know more about me and what I've got going on, that you'll be kept in the know. You won't be depending upon the hitting it just right with the algorithms to maybe never see it.
Yeah, mailing lists are becoming increasingly more required as we get more decentralization into what's going on here with the mainstream and stuff. I don't know if you've been following that, but as an indie, I kind of assume you kind of are picking up what's being laid down. Essentially, like we're seeing a bunch of major IPs fail, and a bunch of more people increasingly gravitate towards things like the indie sphere, because with the rise of AI and other things like that, free tools more available now than ever. You know, anybody can be an author these days, and it's just a matter of time before there's even an Amazon competitor.
And I'll put in a plug for Jody here. All of you aspiring authors who might be looking for a fantastic editor, I know my pal Jody would love to talk to you. She's been one of my critique partners in Beta Readers for a long time, and my books are better for having had her input. And so I'm very grateful for. Oh, and hey, Vin's here. Valerie, hello. I'm so glad to see you. And yes, Rachel's here too, and several of the others. And so yes, those opportunities are there. And if any one of you hearing the sound of my voice has a story you want to tell, please tell it. You may need to take that first draft and learn and grow and develop your craft with it. It may be the story you want to tell, but it may need some work before it's in a form that others will enjoy it as much as you do. But please don't give up on that, because I can tell you, Rachel and I were talking even just before this call about this whole right to market business, and we'll analyze the trends and figure out what's selling, and I don't know that there's people who are knocking out a book a month.
Yeah,
I am not one of them. I will never be one of them. I just don't have that kind of time and mental bandwidth.
That's all day, every day.
Husband and father, being like you, being a husband and father, working full time. I just don't have that in me to do. I'm glad we did what we did. So those resources are available, and write the story, finish the story, because I've met a lot of people who've been like their 50th draft of chapter 1, and I'm like, well, I want to tell you about my story. No. Tell me about your story after you get to the end. Once you get to the end, then we can have a conversation about your story. But until then, anything you tell me is taking time and energy away from getting to the end. So get to the end first, and then we can talk about the story after that. But there's a lot of resources available out there. Unfortunately, that means there's also a lot of information that is conflicting. People who seem to be successful in one way or another are telling you things that, Rachel, I don't know how they do. And what I for those who can do it, great. I've read some of those books that are coming out a book a month, and you read 1, you read 2, and then 3, 4, and 5 just read like somebody filed the serial numbers off. It's like it's the same book with character names changed. And I don't want to say that to diminish anyone who can do that, but and now AI do whatever. Who knows if that book is legit or not? But for those who have the story to tell, please write it. Keep working on your craft to find a group of allies who are at your level or maybe a little higher who can help you with that. Many of the people you saw chatting in tonight are those people that I found, and I was fortunate to have found many of them through social media. When I first started pitching my books, looking for agency representation to get a book contract with one of the big 5 publishers, all of those people conducting the pitch parties where you would get to pitch your book to an agent were all saying, thou shalt have a platform, thou shalt be on social media. I wasn't on Twitter before that. But I did, and I'm glad I had opportunity to meet the people that I did. And before we go, I did want to ask you, Andy, Catherine, would you please share with the folks at home? I was not familiar. I had heard the term Iron Age before, didn't exactly realize the context, but I think a lot of the people here would benefit to know what Iron Age is, what it's about, and how they might want to check out those books, or they may have books of their own. They may want to find people in the Iron Age vibe who might want to present that to others, much like you are for me tonight.
So the Iron Age, Andy came across the term and everything when he was looking up basically independent publishing, looking into that. And I think Razor Fist was the first one to kind of coin the term, but to most people, I mean, of course, there's always some people that are going to say like, oh, it's a cult and things like that. But what we've found is it's people that genuinely, I mean, it's independent creators, whether they're YouTubers, authors, any kind of creators. And you don't even really have to create to be part of it necessarily, because there's truly no gatekeeping. And that's kind of the thing. I mean, of course, unless you're like inherently evil, like, you know, like we're not going to tolerate like pedophiles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but we don't care if like nobody cares what your religious beliefs are, your political beliefs. We
Sexuality,
all, yeah. And I think we all very much encourage having like hard conversations or conversations when we disagree, because more than just independent creators putting out a product, we're trying to change culture through that. And so whether it's changing culture through writing novels or music or just discussing them, writing reviews, things like that.
Anything.
Yeah. And the whole point is, you know, because people are having problems where they create a great story and start doing their querying, and they're being told like, no, this isn't good enough. We're looking for this. And it's just really sad, you know, the gatekeeping right now.
And a lot of it isn't even like good enough, because our shout outs to Herman P. Hunter. He's an older guy who's an author, and he went through the entire querying process, and these agents were shooting him down left and right, but not giving him any real reasons why. And one of them even said, as she turned him down, she was like, by the way, you're extremely talented. So like from there he knew,
but I just didn't love it. So and all of my author friends just hung their heads hearing that, because I know several of you listening have heard that.
What it is they're not looking for good stories, right? And that's the sad truth. They are looking for a specific message. That's what the truth is.
And they're looking for a book that is going to sell. And they're looking for, and if you ask them what that was, you might get different answers depending on the day of the week, depending on the time of day, and they're still trying to figure that out. And I think that the flip side of that is, yes, anybody can write, yes, anybody can publish now.
Right.
It takes time, energy, and effort, as I know you know, to do it well. Several of my friends joining us tonight have done it well, and I've been very glad to read their books. Rachel and Vale and hi Gina. She's not an author herself, but she reviews a whole bunch of books. And yes, Rachel, thank you. They're looking for marketable stories. They're looking for what will sell. They're looking for what the trend is. When I hit the street with my books, it was right after Twilight came out, and everybody was all about no vampires nor werewolves. And
they get weird like that.
I realized that I had a lot of people saying, well, if you want to be published, write the book. And then if that book doesn't sell, we'll write a different book, write a different book, write a different book, write a different book. And I've shared with many of the folks chatting in that if I wasn't writing my WERECAT books, these are the stories I had in my heart to write. These are the stories I had in my heart to read, but I couldn't find. And if I wasn't writing these stories, I wouldn't be writing at all, full stop.
And that's the thing. People are done with the gatekeeping because there's an agenda at play, right? And what we're seeing is a natural decentralization, and that's the Iron Age. the age we live in
Uh-huh.
is the Iron Age of decentralization, and that's only going to progress into like the Bronze Age, and like, you know what I mean, like and into the, like a flourishing whatever the future holds when everything is
We're
fully
hammering it
decentralized.
out.
Yeah.
We're hammering it out, just like a smith working iron.
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
Hammering
you
it
know,
out.
Exactly.
everyone's so done with Hollywood, and I'm just really hoping the Iron Age catches on a little bit more each day, so that these people that are done with Hollywood and done with trad, this and that, will actually be able to easily come across the Iron Age, you know, and just have this network. And like I say it every time, but I have not a single, we have a big stack of Iron Age books now, and I have yet to read a single blurb that I'm not impressed with.
And three more.
And I genuinely mean that.
Too.
Yeah.
And I've read a lot of books and a lot of trad books, and I can honestly say that I've found way more talent in Iron Age authors, and they truly pour their blood, sweat, and tears into it. Like it doesn't even compare.
It's the story you wanted to write in your heart, right?
For all of you, Andy here is an author himself. You can check out his channel here and check out his website, which will get you to his books. And the Pritchards feature a number of other comic artists and novelists also. You've got another novelist coming up next week, as I recall. Tune back in and check out, like and subscribe on the channel, and you'll be able to hear more indie authors like me, get to meet them, learn about their books, and if there's something that piques your interest, you can get it, you can read it. The authors will be grateful, the Pritchards will be grateful, and so all of you can be part of this. And Brianna has been a very big help to me. Thanks, love. And she's and so is Sefu. And how did I come to find them? I was just trolling around on social media, and I'm looking for fantasy recommendations. What you got? And
it's not like
Brianna and Sefu. I just started responding to hey, what are you writing about this or what?
Right.
And oh, hey, that sounds really interesting. Where can I find out about that? Oh, here's my website. There's the details, and you can read all about it.
That's the spirit of the Iron Age, and 100%. Like, and that's what, like, the world is getting more into it. Like, this isn't your late 90s, early 2000s indie where you have to like seriously break your back. Like, yes, there is a lot of hard work involved with going indie, but at the same time, you're doing a lot of it naturally on your day-to-day basis. Like, we all are using social media. Like, the use of social media is one of the main indie tools, you know what I mean? So a lot like what you just said, like, you're networking just by having
algorithms notwithstanding, which I know Sefu has struggled with before. We've talked about that before. It's like,
algorithms suck, dude.
Is there anybody out there, right?
Yeah, they suck. And that's who we're appealing to these days.
I also want to say that specifically our channel, the reason we started YouTubing, we originally wanted to have specific topics, but we kind of ditched that. But our mission, so to speak, hasn't changed. We want to affect culture in a healthy way. And with how specifically anti-family the world and culture is lately, we just think it's really important to focus on, for example, we're so quick to call people toxic and just, they're out of my life for good, to our own family even. And instead of just having a simple human conversation and that communication. And so, the whole goal is to not gatekeep. Anyone in the chat, sorry for bumping the mic, if that was loud, but anyone in the chat, anyone on X, you're all welcome to message and AC or myself and come on the show, because we truly believe that everyone has something to learn from, an interesting story in life. And so we definitely would love to have anyone on the show. So don't be afraid to reach out to us about that. And, we want to expose as many creators as possible.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for having me.
Thank you
Very
so much
glad
for coming on.
yes, I'm glad we got our technical issues worked out.
I know.
Yes.
Jeez, you're a good sport too.
I'm going to make a separate video where I read all 3 of your blurbs. And so I'll tag you when I post that up.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, love. That'll be very
No
helpful.
problem. I'm really excited about it. So
And
thank you.
I'll play us out to the music video for my comic book campaign, just so I'm not rambling on about any of my stuff. Your links are in the description for everybody. I put them in the chat earlier too.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming. Consider checking out my graphic novel. It would mean the world to me and my family. And until next time, Mark, it was a pleasure having you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, Mark. Thank you, chat. You guys are amazing. Hail!
Hail.
Within his hands, succession, destiny calls. In the twilight he stands. Hear the horn sound so clear. Hear the war cry, no regrets. Every fight brings destiny nearer. A saga of sunsets. Saga of sunsets. Battlefields of frost and flame. In his heart rich fire and pain. On his path, the legends claim the echoes of his name. Mountain peaks his eyes survey, northern sun fade to gray. Kingdom calls a break of day. He'll claim his promise, come with me. Hear the horn sound so clear. Hear that war cry, no regrets. Every fight brings destiny nearer. A saga of sunsets.
All right. Thanks, buddy. And